All right, so next up on our agenda, we have wedding gown shopping. So if you're on the search for your wedding gown, we're gonna give you some tips and tricks on what to look out for. Why does prep actually matter? I thought I'd go over this just because I personally did not think of half of these things when I was getting married, decided looking for my dress. So first and foremost, it's not a purchase that you're going to be making often, and let's be honest, it's not going to be super cheap. So it's important to be intentional. You, educated bride can make confident, wise decisions, and that will help her actually avoid any buyer's remorse. We've all heard of stories when brides are like, "Oh, I ordered my dress, I thought I loved it, and then I got here and I put it on and I hate it. Now I'm looking for another dress. And I'm trying to figure out what to do with this one." That is not ideal. We want to help you avoid those situations. So you don't want to get pressured into saying yes just because the salesperson of the bridal boutique or David's Bridal is very good at kind of smoothing you and telling you like, yeah, you like it, want to go? Let's go ahead and do this right now. Like we have all met those. I call them the car salesman type of representatives. They're everywhere, including the bridal industry. And then, of course, you're gonna have your dress and photos of it for a lifetime. So when you look at those photos, you don't want to only think like, "Oh, look, it's love my life for me," but you also want to think, "Ah, that look damn good." So you want to prepping will save you some time, will reduce the stress, and of course, it will make your entire experience much more enjoyable. So this is the general timelines on when to start, what different things will take how long, and when to start your search. I say other boutiques and Only You Bridal. The reason why I have it separated like this is because we're not your typical cookie cutter boutique. We actually do things a little bit faster, and I'll go into detail as to why that is. But in the wedding industry, they say that you want to start your search at least 12 months out. The reason why is because a lot of times dresses take 9 to 12 months to actually arrive from the moment you order it. We have partnered with European designers, so our dresses actually come solely from Europe, which allows us to offer that much shorter timeline. We typically quote 6 months, but most of the time they come in 3 to 4. Another thing is once placed the order, like I said, 9 month average, whereas ours is 4 months. Alterations. It is important to also account for the alterations timeline, especially in busy bridal seasons, because those alteration specialists, especially the ones that really know what they're doing, might have some back orders. So they might not be able to get to your dress for a couple to a few weeks, and that might extend the time frame. So it's good to allot at least a couple of months if you're going with the standard boutiques. With ours, we partnered with really awesome specialists. She's able to do work really fast. So 1 week is our typical average. And then delivery. Most of the time, delivery can take like 4 to 8 weeks, depending on where the gowns are coming from. If they're coming on further across the sea, they could take a couple of months. Ours is typically 1 to 2 weeks. And the 2 week mark is actually for your Ukrainian gowns, just because you gotta go through customs, and we all know people on customs don't like to be very, very fast. And then, of course, you always have an option for a rush order. So rush orders are available. So if you're getting married in 6 months or less, fret not. Chances are you don't have to buy off the rack. So be able to find a gown, but you will probably incur some additional costs for those rush orders. So keep that in mind. Those items of that nature could be whether that is expedited sewing or expedited shipping. So that can add on to your phone. So keep that in mind. Now, when I was first started looking, I did not realize how many options there were to actually find a dress. One thing I didn't consider was getting my mom's dress or my mother-in-law's dress. And I think that one is super sweet. That's why I put it down as the first one. If it could offer that one of a kind moment and opportunity. And just keep in mind, you might still have to do a little bit of alterations. So just budget for that if that is the route you're taking. If you think that it could turn out super cute. So if you have that option, take it. Next up, you have the national bridal chains. Think David's Bridal. Keep in mind, they're going to have a lot of off the rack options, but there's going to be a longer delivery. That's because they're going to place the order, and then that 9 to 12 month time period is going to actually start. So keep that in mind. When it comes down to appointments, a lot of times they will accept walk-ins. So you never know what you're going to get once you get there. You could get very rushed really fast, or you might get that gem in the sand and actually find that really awesome rep that is able to put in the time and effort. From the brides that we've had that came in here and shared their experiences with David Bridal, I'll say majority of them were more on the negative side just because of the rushing and the entire process of kind of like burn and churn. Now, next up, you have secondhand consignment boutiques. These can be awesome for vintage type of dresses or budget brands. You always have that option. Keep in mind, if you're going with something like this, you will incur cleaning, definitely cleaning. Recommend that. If you want to go to a reputable place to get the cleaning options done. And a lot of times that will be boutiques. If you want to find another wedding boutique that actually offers cleaning, you don't want to go to the cleaning place that's right down the street, because chances that they don't specialize in it, and you don't want the dress to get completely ruined. So keep that in mind. You want to incur some additional costs. Next up, we have luxury design flagship stores. So thanks, say yes to the dress. Kleinfelds. We've both seen the show, and we know the awesome question that gets asked at the end of every single episode. They offer high-end couture collections directly from the designer. A lot of times the designers would be sitting there, kind of hanging out with the public. It is more curated on the TV series than it actually is. So the life experience is a little bit different from what we've heard from brides that have actually been there. Keep in mind that whenever it comes to designers, a lot of times they'll say, oh, these are exclusive fabrics, custom design options, but a lot of, actually, majority of designers do have custom design options. So they offer customization. So some of these are kind of buzzwords that they utilize to kind of get you in there and attach a higher price tag on an item that might not actually be that type of quality that you're looking for. So keeping that in mind. And then boutique stores, just like Only You Bridal, shameless plug. We specialize in curated, sometimes exclusive design collections. We actually carry 2 designers that are exclusive to Only You Bridal. One is from Bulgaria, which is Rafaela. They specialize in airy, very lightweight gowns. So at the end of the day, after 7-8 hours of wearing that dress, you don't feel like it's wearing you. You're still wearing it. And the other one is Mika Designs. They're actually located in Latvia. She hand sewed each one of those gowns herself. So she offers full customizations. That is from colors to the entire look of the dress. So we're very happy with our designs. We also offer personalized experiences, so like VIP private appointments. We just released our at-home wedding gown try-on service. So if somebody doesn't feel like coming in here, we'll go to them. And then, of course, the one thing that helps us stand out from the rest of the boutiques is we do custom site ordering. That way we can actually help brides save money on alterations. And we're going to cover alterations specifically in a future slide. And then, of course, you have bridal outlet stores, which I'll admit I did not even know they existed, but apparently there's a bridal outlet store called Pals that I believe it's located in Massachusetts. So you have those options. I don't think we have those in Texas. This one specifically in Texas. Maybe there's others, but that's another option. So if somebody wants to do a little bit of research on that, there's that additional opportunity there. They do offer discounted dresses from past seasons or samples, and then keeping in mind, it will probably be a final sale. So if you end up getting that buyer's remorse, you say you're kind of stuck with it. So keep those things in mind. Now, next up, where to find dress specialists. I did not know when I was looking for my dress that you can actually save a little bit of money by knowing where to look at what times and what to look for. So first thing first, trunk show. A trunk show is a limited time event that different boutiques will hold, where they actually get additional number of dresses from each one of their designers for a week or 2 at a time. They're able to offer those gowns at a lower price point because they only have them temporarily. So they don't have the overhead of having storage, housing, or any of that. Trunk shows can be great, especially if you're looking for the new collections that are coming out next the future years. So they can be great events. Keep in mind. Next up, we have sample sales. Sample sales can be great if you're looking to save a little bit of money and happen to go in to take a look at the sample sales that the boutique is holding at the time. Chances are with sample sales, always if you end up buying a sample, basically off the rack sample, I do recommend make sure that it fits at least somewhat well, because then you're not going to incur like $2,000 in alterations. Because if you're saving money on the gown, you don't want to end up spending even more to make it fit at the end of the day. And then the other thing is, ask if the boutique is willing to actually get that gown clean for you, complimentary. A lot of boutiques will do that, but sometimes you gotta ask to get that little special. And with sample sales, it is a first come, first serve. So if you saw something the day of your appointment and you absolutely loved it, don't take too long to make that decision about whether or not you want to purchase, because when you go back a couple of weeks from it, it might not be there. We're actually currently holding a sample sale on our Cala Blanche dresses, and everything is 50% off. Now, next up, we have trade shows and event space open houses. So trade shows are think about a very, very large venue, very, very large space where you have hundreds of wedding vendors and that could be photographers, it could be event spaces, it could be boutiques, it could be anything, like, you had mentioned ice cream vendors, like basically any vendor that is able to offer a service for the wedding day specifically. So Bridal Shows Inc. actually specializes, they do a lot of local shows. But it is a little overwhelming. Those shows are very long and there's gonna be a lot of people, so keep that in mind. My personal favorite is actually event space open houses because it's a little more intimate. And as I like to say, you actually feel three parts with one, so not just two. You get to check out the space itself. You get to talk to curate a number of vendors that the event space actually already has invited there, so you know that they're trusted vendors. And three, whenever vendors go to these kinds of events, they offer specials. So if you book an appointment with them directly right then and there, you could save some money. So that's why those are great opportunities to find those specials and get them booked. Now, budgeting, will the price actually spend? The national average is $2,500. This does vary by location. So if we're looking at only New York or LA, believe me, that number is going to go way up. So this is the average versus like Idaho's probably like 1,200 or something like that. So keeping that in mind, for our area in Dallas Fort Worth, it is about 2,500. And the cool thing about that, I would say, is that a lot of boutiques actually keep that in mind. So they try to offer a variety of dresses between $1,000 to $30,000 range to kind of give the most opportunity for brides to have choices and options to pick from. Accessories, veils, typically between 150 to 600. Of course, if you're doing cathedral lengths or embellished veils, they can cost more. For those that don't know what a cathedral length is, it's just think about a very, very long dress, and then the veil is still even farther behind. So it keeps on trailing after you. Shoes, anywhere from 100 to 300. Of course, some brides choose to spend a little bit more on the shoes, and that's absolutely fine. They look good wearing them. And of course, jewelry, 100 to 500 statement pieces of heirloom quality can exceed this. So keeping those in mind, I always love recommending brides for shoes and jewelry. If they're not sure what they like, go on Etsy. Etsy is a great place to kind of get a vision board together and see what you're looking for. And of course, hair accessories from 50 to 450 if you're looking for combs, tiaras, headpieces, depending on how you want to do your hair. And then last but not least, very important, undergarments. We highly recommend every bride to always go with nude undergarments. Even if your dress is completely white, nude is just better, just because it's seamless. If there happens to be like a peekaboo side or anything like that, it doesn't look, you can't tell that you're wearing anything. So that's always the best option. And this is kind of just an idea graphic of what $50,000 wedding budget could get assigned as. Now, what you can, for alterations, the average, unfortunately, is kind of high. The main reason why is because depending on the complexity of the dress, price points go up. So if you have a lot of embellishments along the dress, that means the alteration specialist, that they have to take in bust and hips, or maybe the waist area, whatever it is, they'll have to detach a lot of those embellishments and then replace them. Or if they're hemming and the bottom of the dress has the beautiful bottom designs, but everything's already attached, so you have to detach each one of those things, get it shorter, and then reattach them in order to keep the look. So each one of those things can add on cost. This is why we decided to custom size order, because when the dress comes in, most places when they're placing an order, they'll go ahead and they'll measure the bride. And let's say every bride is size 6 at the bust, size 12 at the waist, and maybe an 8 at the hips. They're going to order that gown in a size 12. So now when it arrives, what the alteration specialist will have to do is go down 6 sizes for the bust in order to make it fit right. Well, depending on the amount of embellishments and the way the dress is actually constructed, that might change the look of the dress. And this is when you get those horror stories. Oh, the alteration specialist ruined my dress. It could happen. That's why you always want to go to a reputable place. But that's why we custom size order. That way the designer creates a dress to your measurements. And then at the end, once it arrives, if we need to touch up anything, it's so minute. One, it doesn't cost an arm and a leg. And two, you can't even notice that there was any changes made. So keeping that in mind. Some common alterations can include hemming, which is making the dress a little bit shorter. If you're vertically challenged like I am, being 5'3", you will suffer from this. So just be aware. Of course, taking in or laying out bust, hips, or waist, like I mentioned. Adding cups, boning, or structure support. By the way, with the adding cups, another thing to note is if you got that dress in size 12, but your bust is actually a 6, guess what? Those cups are going to be much larger. So now that's another thing that the alteration specialist will have to do is adjust for the cups. That's adding more cost. And then straps or sleeve adjustments are actually the least you should worry about the least, because that's the easiest thing to do to almost any dress. So if the dress doesn't have sleeves, but you want sleeves, fret not, that can be added probably 99% of the time without any issue. Same with straps. A lot of the chicks will actually have some sleeves on hand that they can kind of give you and put on to showcase what it will look like. Same with straps. And then bustle. Bustle is one thing that we always recommend you do last, because you want to get that dress looking perfect on you and then figure out how to pick up the back of the dress, put it up to where you can seamlessly dance and move around throughout the night instead of having that train behind you, having to hold it or something along those lines. So bustles always last, and you have many different options of bustles. And then, of course, reshaping neckline or adding design elements. I personally always recommend to brides, if they want the different neckline, to let us know when we're placing the order. That way we have the designer do that, because when the designer's doing it, they know exactly how to build it because they've been doing that for a long, long time, and they know all of their materials. It just turns out much better that way. And then adding design elements, that's always something that's probably best done by the designers, just because they know what their stuff looks like. I mean, let's be honest, they're the specialists. Always plan for some alterations, and you make sure that you're using a reputable person. So just because you might have a family friend that knows how to sew, I do highly recommend don't go that route. You don't want to end up regretting it, and now you ruin the relationship too. Only You Brides actually spend between 150 to 650 bucks on alterations because of our custom and curated process. Now we're going to talk a little bit about silhouettes, and the Kari is going to help me point some of those out. But you figure, why not make this a little bit more interactive? So A-line, think about the letter A. It's going to be fitted at the top, and it's going to flare out a little bit at the bottom, giving you that airy and beautiful romantic feel. Next up, we have a ball gown. It's still going to be a fitted bodice, but the skirt is going to be much fuller. So if you want that volume, feel like that princess look, those gowns give you that option. Now, I like to mention that with A-lines and ball gowns, if you happen to love a ball gown, but you don't want to wear a ball gown, right now, a lot of times they can make it an A-line. So if you fall in love with one, but you actually want the other, don't limit yourself in not trying out those specific types just because, like, I don't want a ball gown, because that would just mean that they would just take out some of the bottom layers, making it a little bit flatter, or add more layers to make it a little bit more voluminous. Next up, we have mermaids. Mermaids were very popular, especially in the last decade or so. Now, that one is a soft mermaid, and that's because of the material that this dress is actually made of. Think about mermaids. Mermaids are the dresses that they always tell you you probably have limited mobility because they get tight right around the knees. So kind of think about the geishas, how they walk like that. Consider that when you're picking a mermaid. They can look real good because they hug the body and they show all the curves, but keep your mobility in mind. Now, trumpets is very similar to a mermaid, but it gives you the option to actually walk. So we love this trumpet right there. It starts a little bit higher than the knee, so kind of mid-thigh. And it gives you, like I mentioned, the option, the ability to sit down and move freely, but still has that body hugging feature. And then the fit and flare is very similar to a mermaid and a trumpet. But a fit and flare actually goes out even, it poofs out a little bit higher than the midway. So kind of right below the hips. That one will give you the most mobility. It doesn't look like an A-line because the A-lines kind of flare out at the waist. This one does right below the hips. So how can you tell the difference between mermaids, trumpets, and fit and flares? Honestly, exactly where the different things start to flare out. So think the lowest one is the mermaid, a little bit higher is to the trumpet, and then the fit and flare gives you that freedom, because I like to say. And then of course you have a sheet. The sheet is a straight cut and follows your natural body line. So I personally love the way the sheet look because it still hugs the body. It doesn't give you any construction. And if you want to make any adjustments, it's actually one of the easiest ones to do because you don't have that many seams you have to work around. And then last but not least, we have the Empire ones. Empire is fitted at the top and then it flares out kind of almost right below the bust area. So it creates a little bit of a shorter torso. That can be really great for brides that just want that freedom to kind of move around, or if they happen to be expecting, because you never know what the future holds. Oh. All right, and so we're going to talk about fabrics. The reason why it matters is because knowing your fabrics will help you choose a gown that will actually exceed expectations when it comes down to quality. So silk, we've all touched silk and we know it's one of those fabrics that just feels so soft and elegant. We have the silk scarf right there that if you guys want to, feel free to touch. We absolutely love it. Once you feel what silk is supposed to look like, you will be able to be aware from some sales representatives trying to tell you something is silk, but it's actually not. You can tell because of that silky, smooth, breathable material. Next up, we have satin. So satin has a smooth, glossy finish. It is perfect for structured, elegant looks, like that dress right there. You can see how it has that little bit of a sheet to it. So, lace. There's so many different kinds of lace. So if you like lace, you'll have a lot of options. Lace can come in different sizes as far as the actual material, the designs on the lace itself. See the color showing two different types of lace that you have there. Chantilly lace is one of the most common ones, and it's very soft. So keep that in mind. When it comes to lace, it should be nice and soft to the touch. Then we have tulle. You have different kinds of tulle as well. This tulle right there is actually our favorite because it is so soft. Again, kind of like with the silk, you just want to rub your face all over it just because it feels so good. This is what high quality tulle is supposed to feel like. If it doesn't feel nice and soft like this and it feels a little bit stiffer or scratchier, that's probably because it's not high quality tulle. So keep that in mind. And then we have organza. Organza is sheer, structured. It's a little bit stiffer than tulle, but it gives you that volume that you actually need. So that first, that dress that I mentioned, you see how it sits more, it provides that volume. It's still nice and soft, but it gives a little more structure. And then, of course, we got chiffon. Chiffon is that airy type of material, the kind of, you always can take really awesome pictures of it blowing in the wind. So chiffon can be really, really great. Just remember that chiffon typically holds kind of straight. So with chiffon, there's a little bit of less option that you have as far as being able to make changes to it, but it feels so good again. And then last but not least, we have crepe. So crepe is that sleek, modern, soft drape with a little bit of a stretch. So this is our crepe dress. We call that one Ginger. And we absolutely love her. She's so, so soft. Actually, Melissa's best friend got married in that dress. But yes, I guess that concludes as far as, feel free, by the way, if you want to go and touch these things, by all means, you're more than welcome to. So quality versus quantity, briefly mentioned this. Just keep in mind that just because something costs a lot of money does not mean it's actually high quality. So don't be afraid to touch things. As the pro tip says at the bottom, do not be afraid to touch things. And if somebody's like, oh, well, we don't want you to take pictures or touch things, just be aware there has to be a reason why. So just kind of question those things. High quality fabrics be soft, rich, weighty. They're not stiff, they're not scratchy or plastic-like. Keep in mind that they're with good quality items. You're not going to have seams that are out of place. So one of my biggest recommendations to brides is once you pick a dress, if you want to see if it's good quality, turn over the inside seams and look at the seams. Are they even or are they kind of squiggly and all over the place? That will tell you the quality of the dress itself. And then of course, details matter. So hand applied lace and embellishments, they go way better because they've been hand sewn in versus things that are glued on. Things that are glued on might fall off, will likely fall off if heat starts exceeding, for example. The last thing you want is for you to get a beautiful gown and then all of a sudden stuff on it starts falling off. That's terrible. Sourcing does make a difference. European source fabrics are known for their superior craftsmanship and they do quality control. So a lot of European designers actually source their own fabrics. For example, our Madame Brousseau line, they source all of their fabrics. And you can tell once you go and touch those gowns, it's just one of a kind. And at the end of the day, you know, in this manner that once you place an order, the dress that arrives will be exactly what you initially purchased. And then, of course, mass produced or low cost fabrics from some overseas markets can sacrifice that durability and finish. So just be aware. This is just a quick short list of questions that I highly recommend brides consider when it comes down to getting their appointment. So give the store a call or look at the FAQ pages online just to see if a lot of these will probably be answered already. But if not, give them a call just to make sure that the place that you're considering is actually best fit for you. This can save you some time and headaches when it comes down to getting to the place itself. Now, tip for successful and enjoyable appointments, how to make the most of it. You want to bring trusted voices, but we do highly recommend keeping the number of people small, because when you have a large party, it's kind of one of those things like too many chefs in the kitchen. Everybody wants to give you opinions. It is well intended, but you can get very overwhelming. And then you're starting to think about not hurting people's feelings or something like those lines. Like you have that moment should be about you, and you should feel great doing actually trying on dresses. You want to wear nude undergarments to keep your makeup at a minimum, just because different gowns will give you different ideas for different looks. And if you come in full glam, for example, chances are if you're trying something more clean and sophisticated, it might not match that look that you've already came in with. So that's why we recommend minimal makeup. It makes it a lot easier for you to kind of picture what that final look would come out. Have an idea of your budget. The reason why most boutiques will ask for what your budget is, the reason why is because let's say if your budget is $3,000, they don't want to show you something that's $4,000 or $5,000, because then that kind of feels like a big switch, like, oh, here's this, you just fell in love with it, now pay the extra money. They don't want, well, the honest ones don't want to do that to you. So they will ask about your budget. If there is a specific number that you don't want to go over, just tell them, like, I absolutely don't want to go past this, so don't show me anything over that. And then stay open-minded. We say this all the time. Just because you always thought that you're going to do that fitted look, just try on a couple of different looks. It might surprise you. It happens more often than you think. When I was getting married, I thought I was going to have like a fitted dress. My dress is sitting right over there. It's the one with all the flowers. So it's completely different than anything I originally thought I was going to do. It had the ruffles, it had the flowers. I thought it was going to be clean, straight, and just, I wanted feathers. That was the only thing that was specific on it. There's no feathers on that dress. So stay open-minded when it comes to that. Book early and allow enough time before your wedding for ordering an alteration. We kind of went over that with the timelines. Then, of course, communicate your vision with your stylist. Your stylist is there to help you out. So if the more they know about your persona and what you're looking for, the better they'll be able to style you. And also, once you're trying on things, be honest. If you absolutely hate that neckline or you hate something about the dress, it's not going to hurt their feelings. They didn't sew it themselves. So tell them what you like, what you don't like, because then they'll start running through the inventory in their heads and start pulling things that are better and closer to that vision. And then, of course, be willing to commit. The reason why we say this is because sometimes brides come in and they're kind of thinking, oh, well, I'm not going to buy anything today. They might be actually missing out on an opportunity because some boutiques will offer a discount for the day of if you wanted to purchase. So that's one example as to why you just want to stay open-minded and be willing to commit if you happen to find the one. Now, this is a quick example of how appointments can vary from different places, whether that's a boutique style like Only You Bridal or bridal chain like David's Bridal or a flagship store like Fine Folks. You can have different, the allotted time for your appointment can be different, the amount of attention you're going to get from your stylist, all of that stuff. I will be putting this online, so if anybody wants to grab it, they will be able to. But I'm not going to go too far into detail. Just consider the timelines can be different and the allotted time, and then that personal experience that you have with your stylist. I made a slide specifically for this because this is the number one thing the brides actually talk about is bridal gown sizing. Like, oh, I'm typically a 2. Why am I a 6 or an 8 in bridal? It doesn't make any sense. So don't try to make sense of it. Honestly, even in people in the industry, we're asking the same thing and nobody's been able to answer this question for hundreds of years, obviously. It always runs larger than street sizes. Nobody knows why, and it varies from designers. And not only does it vary between designers, but it also varies from different continents. So European designer sizes are completely different than the US designer sizes. And I'll tell you what, it makes it for a real fun ordering time when it comes down to it, working with the different designers. So fret not, don't worry about the number. It is completely irrelevant. Just remember that the only thing that matters is the fit and how you feel inside the dress. That is it. And then these are the things that I would highly recommend for brides to keep in mind in order to avoid beware of shopping pitfalls. Mass-produced gowns at premium prices, like I mentioned, just because something has a price tag of $5,000 does not mean it actually costs that much. So look at the seams, look at the quality of the materials, make sure that what you're actually purchasing is worth that amount of money. Boutiques or stores that overpromise and underdeliver. If your sales rep, because that's what essentially stylists are, if your sales rep is kind of pushing and trying to get you to go ahead and commit right then and there and not giving you the freedom to choose to step back and relax if needed, just keep in mind there's reason for that. So to me, my spidey senses always go off whenever that happens, whether that's a bridal or any kind of environment, to be honest. So just keep that in mind. You don't want to place an order and then it's not correct, it doesn't come in the right size, or God forbid, the wrong color. And then last but not least, inexperienced or overpriced alteration specialists. Just because somebody's quoting you only $500 to do all the things that need to be done in your dress does not mean you're actually going to get good quality service. So what you want to avoid is paying one person an X amount of money and then realizing that the dress does not look even close to what it's supposed to, and now you have to go to a completely different person and you end up spending double or triple sometimes of what the gown even costs. So keep that in mind. Always go to reputable people, and especially if you have recommendations from other folks, that's always the best way to go. Because referrals are the best way to find out whether or not somebody does good work. And then questions. Okay.
I have quite a few questions.
Oh, please go ahead.
Please. I should have been taking notes as I went along, because then you'll go to something else and I'll be like,
Oh, wish you would have interrupted me. Please go ahead.
no, I don't do that. So we're a big made in America family, mostly because I'm in the railroad industry and we want everything made in America. There's a big difference between made in America and not, in my industry.
Oh, I totally get that.
Are there bridal gowns made in the US?
So there are quite a few US designers, but to be honest with you, the honest truth is that the majority of them outsource the actual production to places like China and India, just because it keeps their production costs much lower and offers them the opportunity to sell the gowns at much higher prices, or basically profit much more, and profit margins a little bit better. Which is why we chose to actually partner with European designers, because we're like, we don't want to not know what we're going to get, and then it takes forever to get here. Because a lot of things happen in 9 months, let's be honest. So that kind of blew our minds. That's why we were very selective about our designers. So I totally get what you're saying, but I would recommend your next best bet is probably European designers, just because you at least you know you're paying for the quality of what it should be. Let's be, especially for that person.
And some made in USA stuff, I mean, like my washing machine says made in USA. They slapped the sticker on it that said made in USA and said,
Exactly.
or assembled in you, yeah, because they put a sticker over it.
Exactly. They brought one part and they put it together.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like knowing that like somebody who like for the one brand you said that the designer actually hand sews the dresses, like, and it's not made in like some like scary workshop with like underage, like
Yeah.
it's like comforting.
There's that too. You're avoiding
Yeah,
that
it's
stuff.
not Amazon.
Right. I'm not getting all like sheen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you look at it and you're like, I
Yeah.
guess I could sew.
Mhm.
So I took my wedding gown and made it into a christening gown for my granddaughter. But, and it came out beautiful. I really took my time and slow. But there's no way in the world I'm altering a wedding gown. you know, a bride. So
Mhm.
I know sewing, but I am not that good.
Yeah.
So I know when you look at the seams and you're like, this is crap.
Yeah.
This poor person probably getting $1 an hour and they have to crank out 50 of these a day. So when it comes to alterations, the problem we had with our COVID bride was she bought the dress here, the wedding was here, so she would get the dress here, so it would be here, but she was living across the country. With the lockdown, she could not leave where she was until 10 days before the wedding. So she got here as soon as she could, went in for alterations, and the lady, I go Mama Bear on, her. She was not very nice to the bride. And because of COVID, the bride did not lose as much weight as she wanted to. And there were a lot of alterations because this poor girl's 4'11". So even a petite gown, it needed a lot of work.
Oh, I don't look at it.
So I mean, she was able to get it done in time, but that's just kind of one of the things that sticks with us
They'll buy it moments.
yeah. I mean, we got the gown a few days before the wedding and everything ended up being fine. But, you guys said something that were somewhat easy here.
Oh, absolutely. So with our process here is, like I mentioned, we custom size order. So what we do is we actually order by what the bust is supposed to be, the waist and the hips, and we take a whole bunch of other measurements too. But those are the main three ones that everybody knows about. That's how we clear the ones that we actually mentioned the most. But once we do that, dress comes as close as possible to being perfect. We've had some cases where we didn't have to do absolutely anything. It was actually perfect. But sometimes, like I mentioned, in 3-4 months, some things can change. You might lose a little bit of weight, gain a little bit of weight, so there might still be a few little touch-ups that need to happen. The operation specialist that we have partnered with does work really, really fast. I mean, we had to hit a very short timeline, and I may use.
Yes, I was
Amber
gonna
as an
say, please
example.
do, yeah, my best friend.
Her best friend was getting married, and they ended up actually shortening their timeline. They're like, yeah, we're getting married in 6 weeks. Can we get a dress? We got her a dress in
From
5
Ukraine.
weeks. From Ukraine, we got her dress in 5 weeks, and then within, I think the dress was completely done, 5 days before the wedding?
If even, yeah, but not because of like, but because of the time we were able to come in and try it on to like the alterations
But we
took like no time.
what we ended up doing, because we worked with the alteration specialist directly, is we had the bride come in, the alteration specialist was here that same day, measured her, took the gown, and 3 days later it was absolutely done, and fit her well, and we're like, oh, okay, wait off the shoulders. But that was one of those, like, I guess, extreme situations, because that's not a very common time. So, but I'm confident that if we're able to do that, anything else is easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
This bride, she just got back from a deployment in Saudi Arabia, so fingers crossed, she's not getting sent anywhere between now and the wedding, but, it's just one of
Yeah, they did it so
You never
fast
know.
those things.
and they did such a good job.
No, I mean, if we end up having to work with only 10 days before the wedding, I have no doubt that we'll be able to meet that timeline. It's just, I always recommend if we can't, let's avoid it, just because of the nail biting, and that kind of ruins some of the emotions that are built in, like, it's supposed to be an enjoyable moment. Have it in your closet for at least 4 weeks before the wedding is my goal. That way you can, one, go back there and look at it, wear it when, soon to be hubby is not around, so you can feel pretty in it. Kind of like that scene of in Friends where all of them are wearing wedding gowns, sitting on the couch, like, relive that, why not? But, yeah, so our goal is to have it at least a month before the actual wedding. That way there's no constant worry about what my guys are going to happen. Because I totally understand, like, just because I know it's going to happen, there's gonna be no problems. I understand that that's not the case for whether that's the mother of the bride or the bride herself. Because at the end of the day, I guess you're not gonna plan on getting married 5 more times in the next year. So you were hoping that things will actually work out, but you don't know. No matter how much somebody can say, like, don't worry, I've got you. We've all heard horror stories, and I totally get that.
And then this bidding came when we left Tiffany to pick up the rings that were supposed to be shipped here instead of DC. And somebody messed up and the rings were here, but by coincidence, in the showroom in DC, they had the exact same rings.
Some
So
coincidence.
Drew had to drive an hour in DC to go pick them up and bring them. She didn't trust FedEx at that point.
No.
So we leave there and we go to the bridal shop and then it's like, that's my daughter in tears and I just,
Oh, I would too.
I was like, can this thing be fixed or not?
Mhm.
And then when I saw she's military, oh, military, I love military.
Like, is it very spoken now?
In tears.
Yeah. Oh, that's unfortunate. Well, let's hope that doesn't happen again. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I'm sure I can think of, oh, we can call, we can.
Absolutely.
We can in
Mhm.
you know, she's not set on a style yet. She's kind of thinking like, or maybe trumpety, but again, like it's round.
Mhm. No, absolutely. Yeah, we'll take good care of her. If she has the time, she wants to come in, we'll answer any questions. We even answer questions that are not related to wedding gowns. I mean, that's why we partner with other experts in the field, their respective fields, I should say. And we learn from them and then we pass on the advice whenever possible.
So if she's at Market Street one day and wants to just come in, just to take a quick look at some samples that you have, is that okay or?
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. I do recommend, like, when it comes to weekends, I would recommend booking an appointment just because weekends are a little bit busier, but during the week, typically it's safe bet. She can come on in, she likes something, we can get her in the dressing room, just, actually get her to try out some stuff. But if you book an appointment, you know that that hour and a half is allotted to you, you have all the time in the world, we have some wine waiting for you and a little snack, so you can really enjoy that moment and make the most of it. That's what we try to do. So yeah, more than welcome to come in, but if she chooses to just walk in, that's absolutely fine too.
I have a question.
Yes,
So being plus size, out of those dresses, what style did you say compliments me? Plus size,
I go to special western plus size, sure about that, and I've sold every single style to a plus size. So this not only like my cousin, you can wear anything, but my favorite, is L'Oreal, just because there's lots of structure and support for the girls, and there's lots of structure in the waist, so that you don't feel like, oh my god, I have to hide everything, but you should be enjoying your wedding day, you should be able to cute skin dance, and not think about the fact that like, oh my gosh, where's she wearing this? So I think if you were like looking for another dress to try on styles. But my personal favorite is always gonna be a volume or anything that's drop waisted. And always of course, because it's much easier to alter later on down the line. And you can like control how tight you want it, but then that's standards.
honestly, it just depends on what you feel best in.
And I was gonna ask, with the customizing, do you guys typically get stuff customized? When people are just that make it easier to work.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly, I can even like tell the designer like, what's your bra cut? And I'll be like, oh, she's like, oh, I wear an H. And I'm like, okay, but literally an H down in your
Yes.
because they have like standard sizes for like the cups they put dresses, but not all the time that there's not for the H's. But yeah, they actually will design it to like floor bands, not necessarily that it gives you the most optimum fit possible.
So being high challenge as well. Size level make you versus, you know, some clothes can make you look taller, you're taller, and you actually are.
I find that if you elongate the torso,
So then drop waist.
anything that drops the eyes from becoming straight to like a straight line always makes somebody appear taller. And I would say like, you know, keep looking at drop waist, keep looking at anything like a vast waist even, because it's like further down, which is the waist literally doesn't start in the natural waist, it starts closer to the hips. You're trying that style as well, and look taller. I wouldn't necessarily say like the skirt size impacts you, but I wouldn't.
So it's kind of like you're
Much longer.
And I wouldn't go super big on the skirt, if you're like bird, it's just like, I'm 6'5", you know, I know it's a lot of things, but like, I notice that like sometimes women feel like they're drowning if there's too much skirt. So I would be mindful of like skirt size, like I wouldn't pick like a giant skirt. Bunch of different.
So more of like an A-line, for example, with some sort of a drop waist would probably be ideal to appear as elongated as possible. And sometimes that drop waist can be created with just flowers, like the dress right behind the card. Doesn't actually have a true drop waist or basque waist, but the flowers just create that illusion in the front to make it look that way. So yeah. The eyes, our eyes can deceive us, then they can help us. Any other questions? Thank you for your time.